Okay, let's get into this. What if building like real wealth wasn't really about how much you make right now, but more about how you uh, think about and handle the money you actually have?
That's a big shift for a lot of people.
Totally.
Yeah.
So today we're doing a deep dive into budgeting, but not just tracking expenses. We're talking about how to budget with the mindset, the intentionality of a millionaire, even if you're starting out with, not a lot of income.
Yeah, we looked at a really insightful audio discussion on this exact thing. It's called Budgeting Like a Millionaire on a Low Income. And it really does challenge some common assumptions.
Right. So our mission here is basically to pull out the core ideas, the really practical steps from that source. We want to show you how building financial freedom, well, it's more accessible than you might think. It doesn't matter where you start, really. It begins with a plan and a different perspective.
And what's so interesting, I think, is how this approach flips the script on budgeting. It's not seen as like deprivation or punishment. It's framed as this powerful tool for getting control, for empowerment. And, there are these practical steps that might actually surprise you.
Okay, let's jump right in then. The first big thing the source really emphasizes is this millionaire mindset shift. This is like the foundation. Think about that feeling. And maybe you've felt it. That kind of knot in your stomach when you look at your bank account, you feel trapped. Maybe even thinking, what's the point? I'm too broke to budget, too broke to save.
Yeah, that's exactly the feeling this source tackles head on. It points out that, millionaires, they don't budget because they have to, because they're broke.
Right.
They do it because they're incredibly focused, they're intentional, they give every single dollar a job, a purpose that lines up with their bigger goals.
And that's the pivot, isn't it? The source says you got to flip that I'm too broke script.
Exactly. The shift they talk about is moving from I'm too broke to budget to actively choosing I'm budgeting because I want to be free. It just reframes the whole thing.
Oh, I like that.
Budgeting isn't the cage. It's the key to the cage. It's the roadmap out.
And this lines up perfectly with something the source mentioned from Thomas Stanley's book, The Millionaire Next Door. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah, classic.
It highlights how most actual millionaires, well, they're not the flashy types you see on TV. They live well below their means. Driving older cars, cooking at home.
Deliberately avoiding that lifestyle inflation.
Yes. Explain that quickly.
Lifestyle inflation is just that, that tendency where as soon as you get a raise or earn a bit more, your spending automatically creeps up to match it. New car, bigger place, more takeout.
And it just vanishes.
Right. It erases any chance to save or invest that extra money. Millionaires are apparently very conscious about fighting that urge. So yeah, that initial mindset shift, understanding why you're budgeting. For control, for freedom, for intentionality. That's absolutely step one before you even look at a spreadsheet.
Okay, so mindset is locked in. Budgeting for freedom. Where do you actually start? Step one from the source is pretty blunt. You absolutely have to know your numbers.
Non-negotiable. This means tracking. Everything.
And they mean everything, right? Not just the big stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Your income, obviously. But then every single expense. Rent, sure. Groceries, gas, subscriptions. But also, that coffee you grab every morning, that stuff adds up.
You need that, brutally honest picture of where the money's really going.
And the source suggests different ways to do it. A simple notebook, fine. A spreadsheet, like Excel or Google Sheets, works too. Or you could use apps like YNAB or Mint.
The tool itself isn't the magic part, is it?
No, not really. It's the habit, the consistency of actually doing the tracking.
Because, you just can't manage or improve something if you don't measure it first. Tracking kind of pulls back the curtain and shows you exactly where money might be, leaking out.
Or just spending patterns you weren't even aware of.
Totally. I mean, have you ever actually sat down and looked at every dollar you spent last month? It can be revealing.
Definitely eye-opening. And that raw data, that's the foundation you need. Without it, everything else is just guesswork.
Okay, that leads us nicely into step 2, adapting the 50-30-20 rule. People might know the standard version.
Yeah, roughly 50% of your income for needs, rent, utilities, groceries. Then 30% for wants, eating out, hobbies, entertainment, and 20% for savings or paying down debt.
But the source points out this millionaire twist.
Right. Many wealthy folks actually flip that around, or at least skew it heavily towards saving way more than they spend on the wants category.
Okay, so how does that adapt for someone on a lower income? Because 50-30-20 might already feel tight.
Good question. The source suggests being flexible. Maybe you start with something like 60-20-20, so 60% for essentials, maybe 20% towards savings, and that leaves 20% for wants.
Okay, so needs go up a bit, wants come down.
Or, depending on your situation, maybe it's even closer to 7 or a dozen 20. 70% for essentials is tough, but maybe that's reality, leaving just 10% for savings and 20% for wants.
Wow, okay. But the key point here, and this feels really important for anyone feeling discouraged, is that the source emphasizes progress, not perfection, right out of the gate. If hitting 20% savings feels impossible now, don't just give up.
Exactly. Start smaller. Can you manage 5%? Maybe 10%. The absolute key is just starting the habit, being consistent.
Consistency builds momentum.
Totally. Adapting the rule to where you are right now, even if it's a small percentage for savings, that's how you build the habit and start moving forward.
All right, step 3. This one's about prioritizing your future self. It brings back that long-term thinking we talked about with the millionaire mindset.
Making decisions today that benefit you, maybe 5, 10, even 20 years from now.
And the most practical way to do this, the source says, pay yourself first. Old advice, but crucial.
Absolutely. And they suggest making it automatic. Set up transfers.
Right, so as soon as you get paid, have a set amount, even if it feels tiny, like the source said, maybe just $25 a month, automatically moved.
From your checking to a separate savings account. Or, even better if you can, into something like a Roth IRA.
And connected to this, the source really hammers home the importance of an emergency fund.
Oh, totally non-negotiable. This is critical.
Right, so there.
They suggest starting with a goal of at least $1,000. Get that first. It covers small emergencies.
Okay, a starter fund.
Yeah. Then, once you have that cushion, you work on building it up to cover 3 to 6 months worth of your essential living expenses.
And the why behind this is pretty straightforward.
Super important. It's your financial shock absorber. Life happens, car breaks down, medical bill pops up, maybe your work hours get cut.
Right.
That fund stops you from having to reach for a high-interest credit card or loan, which can just completely derail all your progress. Setting up those automatic savings and building that cushion, that's huge for future security and honestly, just peace of mind.
Okay, step 4 is interesting. Cut ruthlessly, spend intentionally. This isn't about total deprivation, is it?
No, not at all. The source makes that clear. Millionaires aren't just about being frugal across the board. They spend less overall, yes. But the key is they spend with intense intention. Meaning
Meaning they figure out what they don't really value deeply, and they cut spending there ruthlessly, really aggressively.
Okay, why? Just to save.
Well, yes, but it's so they can then free up money to splurge or spend significantly on the things that do genuinely matter to them, things aligned with their goals or values.
Okay. The examples they gave really illustrated this.
Yeah, like cooking at home most nights instead of constantly eating out. Not necessarily because they can't afford restaurants,
Right.
but so they can save up for a really amazing vacation or a weekend trip that creates lasting memories.
Or the other one's skipping the automatic upgrade to the newest phone every single year, so they can invest that money instead in, say, a course or training that boosts their skills, which could then lead to earning more money later.
Exactly. It's all about alignment, making sure your spending actually reflects what you say you value and supports your bigger life goals, instead of just, mindlessly buying stuff.
Okay, but the source is also realistic. It acknowledges that budgeting alone, especially if you're starting low, has its limits.
Right.
Which brings us to step 5. Grow your income strategically.
Because at some point, you do need more fuel for the fire.
Precisely. Becoming a budgeting ninja is crucial, but to really accelerate wealth building, especially significant wealth, increasing the amount coming in becomes pretty necessary.
So what ways did the source mention?
Well, the usual suspects, but viewed strategically. Asking for a raise, negotiating your salary effectively, taking on freelance work, or starting a side hustle,
Okay.
or proactively learning new skills, maybe online, that are in high demand and pay better.
And there was a key pro tip here about any extra income earned.
Oh yeah, this is gold. Any extra money you make from a raise, side hustle, whatever, pretend it doesn't exist.
Seriously.
Yeah, don't immediately upgrade your lifestyle and match it. That's the lifestyle inflation trap again. Instead, automatically channel that entire extra amount into savings or investments.
Wow. That combination, intentional growth plus the discipline to save the increase, That sounds like a powerful engine.
It really is. It's not just about making more. It's about directing that more towards your future freedom, not just towards, more stuff now. Budgeting gives you control of what you have now. Growing income gives you more resources. And saving that growth intentionally, that builds wealth.
Got it. Now, the source did briefly mention some tools to help with the practical side, the tracking and allocating from steps 1 and 2.
Yeah, just a quick rundown. They mentioned Mint, often free, good for beginners, good for tracking. YNB, you need a budget, which is really popular for that zero-based budgeting idea.
Giving every dollar a job. That fits the intentionality theme perfectly.
Exactly. Every dollar was another one they noted, also based on that zero-based method. Pretty straightforward.
You could always just use a spreadsheet, right?
For sure. Excel, Google Sheets, totally flexible if you like customizing things, but it does take a bit more manual effort.
But the main advice here was pretty simple.
Yeah, don't get stuck trying to find the perfect tool. Analysis paralysis. Just pick one that seems decent and commit to using it.
The best budget is the one you actually stick with.
Absolutely. Starting, even if it's messy, is way better than not starting because you're waiting for perfection.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, the main takeaway from the source material feels really empowering. Budgeting, when you frame it like millionaires apparently do, isn't about painful limits because you have to.
Right. It's fundamentally about gaining freedom, gaining control over your money, your resources, and ultimately finding more peace of mind. And that's true no matter what your income is right now.
That core insight really stands out. You can start building wealth, start building financial security right now. Even if you're only making, say, $1,500 a month, it doesn't start with a big salary.
It starts with a plan, with intentionality, and with that crucial mindset shift we talked about at the beginning.
Yeah. The source really leaves us with that powerful idea. Don't wait until you have more money to start budgeting.
Start budgeting so you can have more money.
So here's a final thought to chew on, building on all this. If taking this approach, aligning your spending with your real values, tracking things meticulously, prioritizing your future self with your finances, if that can build wealth and freedom, what other areas of your life might benefit from that same kind of intentional long-term focus?
That's a great question, something definitely worth considering.